Commentary on Revelation 18 1-24. Revelation 18 unfolds as a dramatic proclamation of the collapse of a great city, portrayed symbolically as Babylon. The chapter functions as both an announcement and a lament, revealing the spiritual, economic, and moral dimensions of its fall. The language is vivid, poetic, and deeply rooted in prophetic imagery drawn from the Old Testament. Verses 1-3, the announcement of the fall. A mighty messenger descends with great authority, illuminating the earth with his glory. This signals the significance and certainty of the declaration that follows. Babylon the Great is fallen. The description of Babylon as a dwelling place for demons and unclean spirits emphasizes total desolation. What was once vibrant and influential is now spiritually corrupt and abandoned. The imagery echoes prophetic judgments against cities like ancient Babylon and Edom, Isaiah 13, Isaiah 34, where ruin is portrayed as a habitation of desolation. The reason for this fall is clearly stated. All nations have participated in her corruption. Her influence extended beyond geography into the moral and spiritual fabric of the world. Kings aligned themselves with her, and merchants prospered through her excess. This reveals a system built on indulgence, power, and seduction, rather than truth. Verses 4-8. The call to depart. A voice from heaven calls, "Come out of her, my people." This is not a physical relocation, but a separation from participation in her system. The emphasis is on dissociation from her sins and avoidance of her coming judgment. Her sins are said to have reached unto heaven, a phrase indicating their fullness and completion. The judgment is not arbitrary, but the result of accumulated transgression. The principle of recompense appears, reward her even as she rewarded you. This reflects divine justice, measured, precise, and corresponding to her actions. Her self-exaltation, "I sit as a queen," contrasts sharply with the suddenness of her destruction. What appeared stable and untouchable is overturned in a single day. Verses 9-10. The kings lament. The kings who once benefited from her now stand at a distance in fear. Their lament is not born of repentance, but of loss. They recognize the power behind her fall, but remain detached, unwilling to share in her fate. The phrase, "in 1 hour," underscores the sudden and decisive nature of the judgment. What took years to build collapses instantly. Verses 11-17a. The merchants lament. The merchants mourn because no one buys their goods anymore. A long list of commodities is given, ranging from luxury to human lives, souls of men. This highlights the depth of exploitation embedded within the system. Commerce here is not neutral. It is tied to excess, greed, and dehumanization. The prosperity of Babylon was sustained by indulgence and injustice. When the system falls, the entire economic structure tied to it collapses as well. Their grief is self-centered. They mourn not the corruption, but the loss of profit. Their distance, standing afar off, again reflects fear without transformation. Verses 17b-19. The mariners lament. Those involved in maritime trade, shipmasters and sailors, join the lament. Their livelihood depended on the city's wealth. They cast dust on their heads, a traditional sign of mourning, and cry out over the sudden destruction. The repetition of "in 1 hour" reinforces the theme of abrupt judgment. The scale of loss is immense, but again, the focus remains on material devastation rather than moral realization. Verse 20. Heaven rejoices. In contrast to the earthly lament, heaven rejoices. The apostles and prophets are called to celebrate because justice has been executed. What appeared dominant and oppressive has been decisively overturned. This contrast reveals two perspectives. Earthly systems grieve loss, while heaven recognizes the vindication of truth. Verses 21-23. The finality of the fall. A mighty angel casts a stone into the sea, symbolizing the irreversible nature of Babylon's destruction. The imagery conveys total disappearance, no recovery, no rebuilding. A series of no more statements follows. No music, no craftsmanship, no commerce, no light, no voice of celebration. These elements represent culture, industry, and daily life, all brought to an end. The reason is restated: deception, sorcery, and the corruption of nations. The system operated through illusion and influence, drawing others into its pattern. Verse 24. The charge against Babylon. The final verse reveals the ultimate indictment. In her was found the blood of prophets, saints, and all who were slain on the earth. This is not merely economic or moral failure. It is persecution. The system stood in opposition to truth and bore responsibility for violence against those who bore witness. Summary. Insight Revelation 18 presents the collapse of a powerful, corrupt system characterized by excess, influence, and opposition to truth. Its fall is sudden, complete, and just. The chapter contrasts earthly grief over material loss with heavenly recognition of fulfilled justice, emphasizing the difference between temporal attachment and eternal perspective. The imagery, language, and structure all point to a system that had reached its fullness and was brought to a decisive end, revealing both the nature of its corruption and the certainty of its judgment.